Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 87 of Direwolf20's Enigmatica 2 Expert Mode series, where today I'm hoping that something cool is going to happen. Hey look, we got two of these bad boys. So I want to do a couple cool things with Astral Sorcery still. We kind of backed away from it for a bit, but now that we've got our tech stuff under good control, I want to be prepared to do a couple more things with it, because I also want to eventually get into mystical agriculture to get some specific resources that are a little bit short for us right now, available a little bit easier and automated, right? So to do that, we're going to have to make sure that everything is cool Astral Sorcery wise, right? So what I've been doing, at least for now, is essentially manually improving these crystals, right? And as we're aware, the way this works, right, is we've got an Astral Sorcery Celestial Crystal. It's got a random chance of having all these different stats on it. Once you get to a Purity 100 crystal, which is the hardest attribute to improve, you're in really good shape. So you want to start duplicating those crystals. And to do that, you want to get the size of the crystal to be maxed out, which is 900. And to improve the size of the crystal, you just drop the crystal in a pool of liquid like so, right? And what will happen is just over time, that liquid will coalesce on the crystal and the size will improve. And once it hits the max level, which is 900, at that point, if you have a crystal in a pool of liquid, there's a chance that it'll split. And that's what happened with these. We had a max size crystal, it split into two crystals, and now we have two smaller crystals that we can then grow again. So there's two things that we want to try and automate today. And we're going to be doing that with a little bit of complexity, I ain't going to lie. It's going to be fun though. It's going to be cool. We're going to do two things. One, we want to detect when the crystal is max size. Two, we want to take a max size crystal and we want to dupe it. And we want to get one of those crystals that it turns into and max size it again, right? And just one of the crystals that gets duped will constantly stay in the pool and it'll grow to max size again and then dupe and grow to max size again and then dupe. The other one will just grow to max size and store in an inventory somewhere so that we can automate crystal growth. That's my goal, right? So to do that, kind of the best way to do it is with a very particular mod called Integrated Dynamics. This mod is going to allow us to do that. And we're going to have to see what kind of shenanigans we can come up with, but I think it should be a fun little project for us. And it's definitely going to be a lot of complexity, but it'll be fun complexity, and that's the kind of complexity Dire very much likes. So let's grab ourselves some stuff and get ready to play with Integrated Dynamics. So I don't play with this model a lot because it is complicated, but it's so powerful. It's so stupidly powerful if you get your head wrapped around the way it works. So my goal is to do two things. One, I want to make sure you guys understand how Integrated Dynamics works. And two, I want to automate the crystals using Integrated Dynamics so that I can show you how powerful it is. So without further ado, let's get started. So there's a couple things we want to get going first, right? We want to be able to get the resources we need for all the crafting. So to do that, we're going to need a drying basin and a squeezer. But to one up that, we're going to actually want a mechanical squeezer and a mechanical drying basin. These things are the better version, right? So it looks like the recipes have changed a little bit for them, but not too terribly, right? So we're going to want 3 of you, and then we're going to want 3 squeezers, boom. And then the mechanical squeezer is going to need some energy batteries, which will require and doot and redstone. Do we have redstone blocks? Yeah, we do. Hooray! Energy batteries. So then the only other thing we need is another obsidian plate. We have dense obsidian plates, which is interesting to me. How do you make obsidian plates? It's industrial craft one. Compressor, pulverized obsidian. Shouldn't be too bad. Compressor, 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 compressor. Sweet. Okay. And then the only other thing we need is diamond dust. Get me 2 of them, please. So these guys here, and then the 2 diamond dust. And we've got a mechanical squeezer. Nice. And then the other thing we need is a drying basin, right? So let's get the drying basin, the mechanical version of it again. Regular drying basin, this. Okay. Looks like we're going to need more of those obsidian plates. Cool. And then a couple more energy batteries. So we are totally going to need a little bit more of these crystallized minerals. So let's do this. Let's get you ready to roll. So the mechanical squeezer, right? Easy peasy. Flux point. Needs power when it's the mechanical version of it. And you basically just throw mineral wood in there and it's going to squeeze it and you're going to get mineral resin at a decent amount. Okay. We might, and you'll also get the crystallized mineral chunks. So we're going to automate this in just a minute, right? So the mineral chunks that we got, this might be sufficient to make what we need, which is a couple of these bad boys. Boom and boom. And then you should be upgradable to this, right? And the mechanical drying basin, let's get some conduits ready here because we're going to want item and fluid conduits. But the mechanical drying basin also requires power, right? And these things are sided, by the way. And I have to remember how the sidedness works, and then we're going to automate this thing. But basically, how does the sidedness work? Can you extract from here? You can. And you can insert. Okay, perfect. Cool. So that sidedness wasn't too bad. So if we put this in here, and then we put these guys like this with a crate. And do you even need to exist anymore? I'm going to go ahead and say no. Obviously, this is not staying here, right? I'm just figuring out the sidedness of these blocks. Oh, I already did you. Cool. So you're going to be extract, you're going to be extract, and you're going to be insert, not extract. Will you do the thing, and you do the thing? Well, that wasn't so bad, was it? Easy peasy, right? So we just drop, you know, the wood into the mechanical squeezer and the drying basin, and Bob's your uncle. Sweet. Man, as much as I keep saying that's not staying there, that's pretty good. Nah, we're gonna move it. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. It could, like, just go here, couldn't it? Doesn't really matter where it goes. It doesn't need to be automated, right? I'm just gonna get, like, you know, mineral wood. Drop it in there. Maybe speed things up a little bit. Not too shabby. Maybe I'll just burn through all the mineral wood I have, because this stuff lasts a surprising amount of time. Like, this mod is not a resources mod. Like, making the resources for it is pretty darn simple, to be fair. So it's really not something you have to worry too much about. So what I'll probably do is just let all this stuff cook, get all the resources that we're going to get, and then teach some auto-crafting recipes, and then call it a day. And just put this stuff away, and if I ever get to a point where I need more, I'll make more. Does that sound fair, right? I don't even need to bother. I'm not going to waste my time setting this thing up. I think that's fair. Cool. Easy peasy. Right? So let's do some recipe teaching. Right? Time to learn stuff. Right? So you're all going to go away. So integrated dynamics, I'm going to assume that we need energy batteries, right? So I'd like you to learn how to make an energy battery. I'm going to say we definitely need a logic programmer, but we don't need to teach you how to make a logic programmer. So we're going to make our own one of those. You only need one. We are going to need a variable store. You got to know how to make those. Those are going to be important. We need some cables. Those are going to be important. And we're going to need some readers, right? So I need to know how to make a block reader. And I'm going to need to know how to make an entity reader at some point, probably. Extra dimensional reader, fluid reader. I don't know that I need a fluid reader. Inventory reader, maybe. Maybe. We might need these down the line. Machine reader, network reader, redstone reader, world reader. Yeah, I'm probably going to want a redstone writer, though, at some point. That's going to be a thing we're going to want to have. And to make a lot of these, we're going to need output variables. And we're going to need input variables. And we're going to need variable cards, for sure. And what else do I need? I think that's the gist, right? Yeah. Now, there's integrated dynamics, and then there's integrated tunnels, which is another whole nother ball game, right? And for that, we're going to need some crystallized chorus chunks, which we get popped chorus fruit, and we can squeeze that up. All right, so I might need that squeezer again for a minute with some chorus fruit, just to get some stuff. But there's things we're going to want here, right? I'm going to probably want an item interface. I need you to know how to make one of those. And I'm going to talk to you guys about what all these different things do. Go ahead and learn the item importers and exporters. And the world item importer I'm definitely going to need. And that's the one where we need the logic director, which will need this recipe, right? So I'm going to put all these things into my auto crafting system now, right? Lots of recipes to learn, but we should be cool. I'm going to pop over to the end, I think, because I don't know that we have any chorus fruit. I know I've been to the end. I know I did some harvesting out there. Did I do anything with chorus fruit while I was out there? So we want our drying basin back out, the mechanical squeezer and the mechanical drying basin. And let's go ahead and get our, I should have taken this thing down so good. Flux point, and then our conduits. And I'll just do the items manually, so I'll just do you and you for a minute, and that should be cool. Did we get any chorus fruit while we were out in the end? We did get some chorus fruit. Nice. Okay. How can I, like, grow you? That's a good question. I wonder if the tree thing, probably not, right? But I think you can do chorus, can't you? Maybe with a little bit of andstone? Right? Where do we get chorus fruit from? Phytogenic insulator comes from chorus flowers. So where do we get chorus flowers from? We can transmute pop chorus fruit. Let's cook you up. Oh, you went over there for some reason. Whee. Because potatoes is not really something we need so much anymore, right? Like, potatoes is nice to have, don't get me wrong. But does this work? My answer would be yes. Sweet. All right. Nice. Because, like, we don't need this. This whole setup, no. Not so much anymore, right? Right? I don't think so. So if I got a drawer. So the only thing is you're doing that to that, right? What if we got a 2x2 drawer? Does that sound fun? Oh, hello. We don't have any wood. And yes, I know this is less efficient, but I mean, at this point, wood's not too much of a problem for us, right? I would hope. The only problem is tape. We'll break you. You know what else I could do? Well, you know, we could just put you here, couldn't we? That would be cool. And then we could remove you. You can be extract always active. Yeah, let's do that. I think that's a fair approach. And you can be chorus root. Cool. Locked. And now we've got chorus root automated. For now. Like, I don't think we need these potatoes anymore, but they're still available if we decide we want them, right? And that would be cool. So now we have just a way to get lots of chorus fruit. Let's just make sure we have a little bit extra. Let's go pop it. And then we'll set this back up real quick. So squeezer, drying basin, extract, power, and we're good to go, right? And there's our popped chorus fruit. And now we have some chorus fruit ready. Sweet. And everybody's happy. Nice. All right, so with this stuff all put away now, let's get ready to do some integrated dynamics work. Oh, you know what else I want from integrated dynamics, by the way? I want a display panel. Can you learn how to make one of these display panels? Because we definitely want them, because that's going to make it easier for me to show you guys what's happening and how stuff works. Cool. And then the other thing we're going to want is that logic programmer, right? So that's easy peasy to make, right? And I think I just do that to get a portable one. And the portable logic programmer, I can program things portably. Huzzah. All right, now this is a complicated mod, but if you follow along with me, it should click, right? So don't be intimidated. So I'm going to get a few things here that we can analyze. We're going to want an energy battery because I assume this thing needs energy. We're going to find out though. By default, the config is that it doesn't need energy, but I'm assuming because this is a hardcore pack, energy was enabled, right? And boy, we're actually missing wood. That's right. I did just burn all my wood, didn't I? At some point, this will be, you know, Dire being less derpy and not so manual, but okay. So we need the variable store. Okay. We're going to need some cables. Shouldn't be too bad. We're going to need a display panel, which needs static light panels. I didn't teach. My bad. Okay. Should be easy enough. Nice. Okay, display panels are good. I'm gonna get a redstone writer just to help drive home some points. I want an entity reader. Probably gonna need 2 of them. And we're going to need an item interface. And again, I'm going to show you and tell you guys what all these things are all about in a bit. World item importer is going to be nice to have. Okay. And then we're going to want a bunch of variable cards. So I'm going to need a handful more of those. And what else? That should be cool. Maybe inventory reader. I'll snag one of them just to help with some details. Yeah. I think that's good for now. Let's get started. Oh, by the way, remember an episode or 2 back where we automated this? Not bad. It all worked out pretty well. I'm assuming some of my aquamarine was wasted, and that's okay. Also, I want to mention something. I'm not sure if somebody's going to yell at me about this, but I did change this guy to magenta lens, mostly because the magenta lens is what's going to let us get Erodium, which is what's needed for the next tier of stuff, right? So like the tier 2 Void Ore Miner. So I was originally focused on getting Litherite, but now I wanted to get like a good bunch of it for other things, right? But now that we're getting Erodium, right? So if we check environmental tech, we should see we're getting more Erodium now. I mean, we were getting Erodium before, but now we're getting more Erodium because I changed the lens. I just wanted to point that out because I suspect... I don't think the video's gone live yet for the environmental tech stuff, but I suspect a few people might be like, Dire derped! He put the wrong crystal in! I'm sure that happened, right? Nah, it would never happen. Hey, look, you're size 900, and you're size 759. Perfect. All right, so cutting. Cutting is going to be manual probably for now. So there's cutting 100, and your cutting is 36. Your cutting is 71. I gotta stop clicking the wrong button. 99 and 100. One more click, and you should be 100 and 100. Perfect. All right, so here's what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna automate this, and let me get another tank. So tank, let's get another one of these bad boys. Does that sound cool? And a kit here. And is that all I really need? Is just the tank and the kit? Is there anything else I want? Do we have any more aquamarines? We do. Beautiful. That's a lot of aquamarine. So we'll put away some of it. And we'll take the 2 stacks with us over here. We're going to take this guy. And then we're going to replace this dude here. You're going to get a bunch of liquid. And now you can hold lots more. Hooray! And if I wanted to, I could, you know, do the holding thing, right? So let's put you here. And now you guys are going to do that. Beautiful. Lots and lots of fluid for us now. We're going to take this thing over here. And we will grab a couple of conduits, which of course I forgot to bring with me. Hey, wrong place. Okay, and you will insert and extract always active. Yes, beautiful. And you're going to do the same thing. Okay. So now everybody's getting their fluid, right? And we're ready to rock. So now let's get into integrated dynamics and how to set up everything we need to do. All right, so for this episode, my goal for you guys is to introduce you to integrated dynamics for those of you who may not be familiar with it. Because like I said, it's a bit of a complicated mod, and I'm not entirely sure how often people wind up using this thing, right? So what we're going to do today is make it so that you guys understand how it works, and then next episode, we're going to do the full suite of automation that we want to do related to crystals and whatnot, right? So how's that sound? Like a good plan? I hope so, because that's what we're doing, right? So integrated dynamics is cool, right? It's a very powerful mod that's built around logic, and you can read information about blocks and items and entities and all kinds of other stuff, and then you can write information to the world about it. So you can send out a redstone signal or a sound or write to a display screen, all kinds of other stuff. You can also interact with inventories and items in the world through integrated tunnels, right? So if we look at tunnels, there's a bunch of things for interacting with the world, interacting with fluids and items and player simulator and energy interface and world item exporters and all the stuff that lets you move items around, right? So integrated dynamics lets you analyze items and read information from them, and integrated tunnels lets you move items around. And these two can work together to do some very complex logic that reads information and does stuff with it, right? So our goal with this process is to take these 2 crystals and determine their size, right? And that size attribute is stored behind the scenes on something called NBT. And that's how all items in Minecraft store their data. There's 2 ways to store data in Minecraft. Metadata, which really stores only a small amount of information. That's usually used for things like damage values and like the different wool colors. So if we look at wool, we can see the metadata by doing F3H. And we can see the wool is called Minecraft wool, and all of these are Minecraft wool, right? And if you look at the numbers at the top of it, you can see this is wool number 35/0. So 35 is the item number and 0 is the metadata. This changed in 1.13, by the way. There's no more metadata, but for the purposes of 1.12, this makes sense, right? So it's the same item, but with different metadata. But you can only have up to 16 different kinds of metadata. So like once you hit like 0 to 15, you're done. You can't have any more metadata. To store more complex things like celestial crystals, which can literally have thousands of different data points, right? Like you have 900 different size values, you have 100 different purity values, and 100 different pieces of information for cutting, then you can look at the NBT tag, right? And if you hit control, it'll tell you some more information about this. And you can see like like that dark gray text that starts with an open bracket, right? Where it says NBT right under it. That's the NBT value that's stored on this crystal. So you can see what's actually the data that's stored on the item behind the scenes in Minecraft. So it's an astral sorcery, and some of that data is crystal properties, right? And the collective capability, that's 100. That's the cutting. The size is 801, so that's the size, and the purity is 100. And there's a few other values that we don't see or don't use that are used behind the scenes by astral sorcery. So when we look at this, right, 100 for collective capability, which is the cutting, 100 for purity, and size 801. We can see that that is, in fact, the case, right? And this one's size 628, so when we look at the NBT value of that, we can see the size is 628. So integrated dynamics is one of the few mods that allows you to read that NBT value pretty easily. So to do that, the first thing we're going to need is a variable store, which we'll talk about in a minute. We need this battery, right, which we can see has 100,000 RF in it. And then we're going to need a cable and we're going to need an entity reader, right? So the entity reader lets you read information about entities in the world, and it faces the block where the entity is going to live, right? So if we right-click on the entity reader, we can see a bunch of information about what it's trying to read. So right now, it's not reading anything. But if I go stand in front of it, hey, look, all of a sudden, there's an entity named Direwolf20. Haha, cool, look at that. So there's the player Direwolf20. We can read information about him and do stuff. That's kind of cool, right? But if we drop items in the world, right, like the Celestial Crystal, we'll see that there's, this is a list of entities. So like if there were multiple entities on the ground, the list would be, there's a Celestial Crystal, and you can't see it right here, right now, but you'll see the list of all the different items sitting there, right? But we're going to just be focusing on one entity, right? So here's what's up, right? Entity, Celestial Crystal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my variable card, and this can store information from a specific slot, from a specific reader. So by placing it in this slot right here, we now bound the data on this variable card to whatever's sitting in front of this entity reader, right? And to see that it's working, what we can do is pop up right here a handy little screen. And when we put the variable card right there, it's going to display on the screen the information that is being displayed on this entity, right? And we can see that when we bound the variable card. So when I drop an item there again, watch what happens to the screen. Ta-da, Celestial Crystal. So it now knows, right? It's reporting back what is being shown right here. How cool is that? If I pick up that item and go stand in front of it, it knows I'm Direwolf20. If I drop a Yeta Wrench, it's going to say Yeta Wrench, right? It knows about that entity. Cool. Now, we can also read more information about the entities using the Portable Logic Programmer, right? So we know that this is an entity, and there's a ton of information, a ton of logic, and we'll get into some of this probably in the next episode, but these are all the things you can do to manipulate the data stored on these variable cards. Like, there's a lot, right? I happen to know that I want to read the NBT data off of that entity. So let's search for NBT and see what we have, right? So we can have specific NBT, so we can write our own NBT, which is cool for doing stuff. It won't manipulate the item in the world, but it's just for something else that I'll tell you about later, probably. We can check for a specific item equaling a certain type of NBT, and down here we can read NBT off things. So category item, category entity, category fluid, right? And these will read the NBT data off of it. Now, you might think you want to use item NBT, but technically when the item is sitting in the world, it's an entity. So we have to read entity NBT. So what I'm going to do is take that variable card, see how it says aspect entity, right? That's how we know we want to use entity NBT, right? So it's looking for an input, and it's going to give us an output. So the input type is going to be an entity. So we have to give it an entity, and it will tell us the NBT tag that's on that entity. So step one, give it the entity data. Well, we already have the entity data, which is the variable card we created over here, okay? And that entity data is basically whatever entity is standing in front of that reader. So I'm going to pop that right here. And then to get the variable, or to get the output of this, which is the NBT tag on that entity, we just put another variable card in the slot, and now it's getting the NBT data off of the entity. The entity is this variable card that's read from this thing. Cool? So to get this to work, you have to put the variable card with the entity in the variable store, right? So now the variable store, this guy, is going to have the information about one entity sitting in front of it. And if we put the variable card for the entity NBT in the display panel, we'll be able to see the NBT values information of the entity that's sitting in front of this entity reader. Okay, so when I drop a Celestial Crystal here now, we'll see all the entity information. So that's literally all the good stuff that's going on right there. It's probably a little bit tricky to see, right? I'm trying to make sure I don't pick up that crystal at the same time. But that's all the entity value, right? So that's the information that's stored on that object. You can even see the thrower was Direwolf20, right? The motion of the crystal, right? Its health, right? All this other stuff, right? So that's pretty cool. And one of the things you can see down there is this item tag called Forge Caps. And in there, you can see that Astral Sorcery information. That's where, further down, we're going to be able to find the size. So what we're going to do in the next episode is figure out or teach you guys how to analyze the information on this crystal to get it to spit out what the size is, right? And our goal is basically to look for a crystal of size 1 or size 900. And once it is size 900, we can pick it up, right? So that's our goal. We want to read the information out of the MBT tag of this item entity. We're going to find out when the size hits 900, and when the size hits 900, we're going to pick it up out of the world, and we're going to store it in a crate. And we're basically going to have something that can automatically grow crystals for us. Does that sound cool? Let me know in the comments, because I think it sounds cool, and I think you guys will enjoy it. If you watched my Let's Play series back when 1.12 first came out, I did something similar to this, but I did it in a different way, because I don't think integrated tunnels existed at that time. So even if you've seen this before, it's going to be different because we're using integrated tunnels, not whatever I used back then, right? So that is pretty cool, right? And you can see Direwolf doesn't have any MBT tag, so it's like, hey, I don't like his MBT. Right? But that's pretty neat, right? So we can see all kinds of entity information, right, when we drop items in the ground. How cool is that? So we're going to be playing with integrated dynamics and integrated tunnels in the next episode. But this is the foundational information, right? How to get the basics up and running. And I noticed this thing's not using energy, so maybe the config option to use energy is not enabled. That's kind of cool. So next episode we'll come back. We're going to use the world item importer to pick up items out of the world. That's pretty much what he does. And we're going to do a few other things to make duping items possible too. So for now, Darrell20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll come back next time and we'll play more with integrated dynamics and integrated tunnels. And the goal, like I said, is to automate crystal growth to the point where we will continuously get ourselves a bunch of size 900 purity 100 crystals. And oh boy, it looks like I gotta go do something about blood magic. Dun 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 dun. What I need to do, or what I should do, let's turn this off, Buster. That's better. What I should do, what's using power right, or what's using blood magic right now is my lava producer for these guys, which technically we really don't need. I could just hook everything up, you know, intelligently with conduiting. I should get around to that at some point. I don't even know what you're using. What are you using power for on a regular basis over here, Chief? Probably nothing. You know what it is? It's probably... If I break that, that's better. Alright, now Darrell20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We will come back next time. Look at all that UU matter. Holy cow. Soren would be proud. Alright, guys. Take it easy.